Welcome back to Total Geek Live Baltimore Presents. I'm Baltimore, and today I'm going to bring you the first of three, which is sort of like a trilogy, of the Messiah Complex. This is a crossover event that handles with the X-Men, and the first part of this trilogy is called Messiah Complex. So, let me set the stage for you, because I was really excited when this actual event started, because as a fan of the 90s, I love when they had the 90s crossovers. So you had the four main titles, and then each title was a chapter in the book, in the crossover. Loved that. Loved it, loved it, loved it. And then it kind of fell out of favor, and it just didn't happen anymore. Well, this series brings it back, and I could not be more excited about it. So Messiah Complex was a 2007-2008 series, with writing from the staff of the four titles, which would be Ed Brubaker, Mike Carey, Peter David, and then Craig Kyle and Chris Yost, who were a team. And so the titles that were affected were X Factor, with Peter David as the writer, New X-Men, which was Craig Kyle and Chris Yost, X-Men, which was Mike Carey, and then Uncanny X-Men, which is Ed Brubaker. So this is a really fun and interesting time for the X-Men. This is in the height of the depowered era, after Wanda Scarlet Witch said no more mutants, so they're depowered, and they're very few, and so their backs are really against the wall. And for the first time, a new mutant signature is found by Cerebro, a mutant birth, and the X-Men go crazy. It's like, oh my god, our race is restarted. So they are rushing to find it. And coincidentally, the new light that shows up is in Alaska, which has a long history with the X-Men, dealing with Scott Summers, Cyclops, and then Madeline Pryor, his wife. So there's some, things happening, and familiarity with the state, even though it is super huge. So this is the first mutant birth after M-Day, and so not only are the X-Men looking for this new mutant child, but also Mr. Sinister and the Marauders. We have the Reavers, we have the Purifiers, we have the Acolytes, and Predator X, which is a sort of weird creature that attacks mutants. That's been bred to attack mutants, so it's not really good. So all these factions are fighting to find this child, and so first, there's a big fight in the actual hospital. The other children are killed. All the people are killed in the hospital that the child is born in, including the mother. And so we find out that there's a lot of belief behind this mutant birth. The X-Men emphatically believe that this child will restart the mutant race. And so they are trying to, not capture her, but take her and make sure that she's raised and taken care of, and not be killed by, any of the various crews that are trying to attack her. So we have that first round, they're fighting in there. There's the Purifiers up in there, and Cable ends up getting her first and taking care of her. And he tries to just get out of there, get out of the way, not be a part of it, so that he can get her to where he needs to go to save her, because he knows that she's an important as well. One of the things I really liked about this is that it took the strengths of each team, and used them to their advantage. So X Factor Investigations, by Peter David, used his investigative, stance to figure out what's going on. So they sent Richter, who was a depowered mutant, now he's human. They sent him into to the Purifiers undercover to kind of see what's going on and kind of figure out what's their plan, what's going on, what do they know. But they also send Madrox and Layla Miller to Forge. And because of the new mutant birth, Forge has figured out that there are two varying timelines. One where she saves it and one where she doesn't. But the only way to figure it out is to send someone in the future, and unfortunately these are almost one-way tickets. So Madrox uses his dupes, sends them in the future, one in each path, And then at the last second, Layla Miller tackles on to one of the Madrox dupes and goes to the future with him. So that's pretty fascinating. That's she went rogue. Um, so they're in the future and they're trying to figure out what's happened with the birth. Is it the savior that they feel it's going to be, or is it a disaster? So they find out a lot of things in the future that pretty much shake them. They also get captured and they're branded with the M tattoo on their forehead or on their face, similar to Bishop. So they have that on there, and it's actually permanently attached to them, so that even when he recalls his dupe, it's going to go on to Jamie Prime, the main Jamie Madrox multiple man. So that's kind of a lasting impact on him because, of course, Layla gets one as well. Um, so we have that going on, and we have them trying to figure out what's the story. We also have Rogue's team, who was given a team by Cyclops, and she chose some interesting teammates. She had Cable, she had Cannonball, she had Iceman, so there were some great team members there. And then she chooses Mystique, who always betrays the X-Men. And then she chooses Lady Mastermind, who is a former villain, the daughter of Mastermind, who corrupted Jean Grey in the famous Dark Phoenix series. Um, and they have Sabretooth as well, who is less than a savory character. But she tries to convince him that the team was going to be fine. We know what we're doing, and of course it implodes on her, and in a big bad way. Rogue is kind of taken out taken out early on in the series, and in a coma. And Mystique tries to save her, and takes her away. So the X-Men team that's left ends up realizing that they're about to get hit really hard. And they do, because Lady Mastermind is part of the Marauders. So her joining was, to subvert that. And so what they end up having to do is fight them off out the mansion and figure out how they're going to save the day when all these Marauders are basically at the door. We have the new X-Men team, which is all the young students of the X-Men, and they go out and try to figure out what's happening and what they can do to kind of stop it. And that's kind of a interesting storyline because they don't win, and it's kind of a cool thing to see that sometimes the X-Men don't win. And it had some lasting effects on it. There were people who were injured, and it kind of really affected them. They tried to go after the Reavers and the Purifiers, and they didn't do so well. Cyclops dispatches all like the Claw Force. That's what I like to call them. It's all the sort of vicious members of the X-Men, which would include Wolverine, X-23, Wolfsbane, Caliban, Hepzibah, Warpath. So he puts them together on a team and says, you have to go find Cable. You have to find what's going on with this child. We have to, rescue her. If Cable's gone rogue, if he's gone bad, we need to stop him because he doesn't know exactly what's the situation. So they come out and they're going to go attack and find out that, it's not really Cable the bad guy. They've been betrayed by one of their own. They've been betrayed by Bishop. So this kind of retcons a lot of things because originally Bishop came back because there was a traitor in the X-Men, and the traitor was alleged to be Gambit. And then when the story actually got told, the traitor was actually Charles Xavier, who was actually Onslaught. There's a whole thing. But now it's revealed that he is the actual traitor. He's the one who's come back because if he doesn't stop Hope, she will kill 1 million people and start the concentration camps and the Hound program and every bad thing that leads to his future timeline. So he's come back to say he's, part of the X-Men, but he's actually back to make sure that Hope is eliminated. So that's kind of a character assassination of the highest level. I was not a fan of that. I didn't think he deserved that. I thought he deserved a lot better. So that was really frustrating. So Cable gets to Forge's because Forge has a time machine, and he's trying to time jump and get out of this so that he's not there. Um, they end up getting crossfires with Bishop, and the baby gets stolen by Mystique and Mr. Sinister and taken to Muir Island. Um, and there's a big, huge battle that falls out there. Um, we have Caliban is killed as part of the covert force, X Force, and that's really kind of dramatic because he's been a periphery character, but kind of a long-standing character. He's had a lot of interactions with the X-Men, so there's a lot of things that kind of like, oh my god, I can't believe that this happened. And so we have that going on. We have Mr. Sinister actually being killed because he touches the child. So Hope kills Mr. Sinister, and of course, it's Mr. Sinister, so it's one of his clones. He ends up getting better. There's a pitched fight. Mystique had taken the child because she knew that she would be able to heal Rogue because Destiny, her former lover, told her so. And so she touches Hope, the baby, with Rogue, and Rogue is immediately healed. All the personalities and all the powers that she's accumulated over the years, gone. Blank slate. She's kind of free to kind of start over, basically. And there's, a pitched battle, and Cyclops and Cable kind of have a really great heart-to-heart where Cyclops has to give his baby Nathan, which is Cable, up to be saved in the future. He's not allowed to go with him. He's not allowed to find out if he's okay or not. He just has to give up his baby to these people he does not really know in the hopes that they will be able to save the child. And this is sort of the same thing. He's trusting Cable to go with the child to save her in the future. So it's a really kind of great moment there that they had. And then, of course, Bishop is going crazy. He's attacking everybody. He actually gets his arm bitten off by Predator X. It's kind of crazy. And then he ends up trying to shoot Cable, but Cable disappears in the time stream, and he hits Professor Xavier. And it's, oh my god, Professor X is dead. And then if you look closer in the actual photo, you see the next shot, or the next panel, he's actually gone. Professor X has disappeared. And then Cyclops is there saying, the X-Men are over. And so, this had a lot of ramifications. It had a lot of major lasting effects. You have a new Cable series that comes out of this that takes the child and Cable into the future with Bishop pursuing them and kind of raising her there. You have the end of the new X-Men series and the sort of disbanding of the X-Men, starting over, not trying to be in Westchester anymore, don't know what they're going to do. So that's kind of fascinating. You have the X-Men title actually now follow Xavier, because what happens afterwards is Exodus, who is an acolyte, heals Xavier, and Xavier goes to kind of try to make up for all of the dark things he's done, the mistakes, the sins. So he tries to correct them. So that kind of follows through on that. So I really did like this series. I definitely think you should pick it up. Messiah CompleX is fun. It's thought-provoking. There are a lot of really cool elements to it. The art is exciting. You have Mark Silvestri, you have Billy Tan, Chris Bachalo, and Humberto Ramos. And we do have some issues with that because there's sometimes people are in different costumes book to book, and you're like, wait a second. Like X-23 was in her leotard type of thing, and then next thing she's in her X-Men training uniform, and then back. So there's a little bit of communication that could have been better served, but it's still really exciting, and I think it's a lot of fun. I think you really enjoy it, and it's kind of brought back that fun of the '90s when you had every week you have a new chapter in this storyline, and that was really a lot of fun. So I definitely suggest you pick this up, and then come back and see me next time for the second part of the trilogy. Um, and uh, and let me know what you think about it. Did you enjoy it as much as I did? Did you have problems with it? What were your favorite parts? Was it kind of cool to see the X Force forming, as it were? Sound off below in the comments. Like, subscribe, and share. And as always, it's all geek to us. And I'll see you soon next time.